Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Kat Cripps of the Wildcat Solutions and the Business Success Society, welcoming you to episode 3 of this short series of webinars. And today we will be looking at email marketing. At the end, I'll give you some information on how you can engage with me further if you would like to. So sit back and enjoy, and we'll just wait for some people to join the webinar and we'll get started. So here we are. This is day 3. So if I can just share my screen with you, then here we go. Right. So hopefully you're now seeing the splash screen for the presentation. So day 3 in this series of webinars, prompted largely by our friend coronavirus or COVID-19, whichever you want to call it. And yeah, so day 1 was using your customer data to find more sales. You'll find all these on the YouTube channel, or if you've now signed up and you're in the system, then you'll get a link to all of them at the end as well. Yesterday was then getting clear on your ideal customer, so that may have changed as a result of what's going on. You might be targeting a different customer. And today it's this, now we found these customers, how are we going to communicate with them? So one of the ways we're going to communicate is email marketing, and then you'll see we're looking at processes next week, we're looking at content marketing and lead magnets, and we're looking at sales process. And then next Wednesday, there is a paid workshop. It's a longer thing and it's more interactive. And so there's tickets available for that. They're only £10 for you guys, so not inordinately expensive. So email marketing. I could spend all afternoon on this, but I won't keep you for probably, we've been running between 30 and 45 minutes so far. So that's roughly how long I'm going to be taking. And I guess I always start with this where are we slide. Where are we? Have we seen a downturn in sales? I'm pretty sure that if you've seen an uptick in sales, then you're not going to be here because you are so busy getting stuff out the door. And there are businesses who are doing really, really well at the moment, and good on them. That's fantastic. But most people are probably experiencing a downturn in sales, a change, loss of orders, loss of sales. You may have some re-offerings, some new offerings that you want to bring to the market. And again, you then have to think about who your ideal customer avatar is for that. So that was what yesterday was all about. Or you might just be thinking about how am I going to re-engage some of these customers or clients that I dealt with in the past, and I'd like to start a conversation with them again. So we did that day. We did talk about, if it's a small number, about ringing them up, but we also mentioned the idea of email marketing campaigns to re-engage old customers, and indeed potentially new ones as well. Although we'll talk more about that. I'll talk about the context of that when we talk about content marketing and lead magnets next week, but we will kind of talk about it in passing here again today. So email marketing can do what? It can help you communicate with clients. So you might just want to tell your clients what's going on. I don't know about you, but my inbox is full of emails from every single company that I think I've ever signed up to their mailing list, telling me what they're doing in the current circumstances. So you may want to do that if you haven't done so already. Just put out a communication to say, hi, I'm still here and I can help you. I might be helping you in a different way. If you have to be face-to-face with your clients, and some people do, they still have to deliver for whatever reason, and they still will have to be have that face-to-face contact. You may want to tell them what you're doing in terms of your precautions and all that kind of good stuff. So obviously email marketing is absolutely fantastic for that. As I said, you might want to tell some old clients about new services, or even just tell old clients that you're still here. You know, if you've been in business for I don't know, 3, 5, 10, 15 years, you might well have some clients that are way back in the dim and distant past that you haven't spoken to in a while. You might just want to say to them, you know what, I'm still here and I can still help you. And you can also use it, and this is my favorite really, about is informing and educating them. Just tell them stuff. And I'll be absolutely honest, you know, that's what I'm doing now. I'm just helping people by telling them stuff. I will be going out to some people and saying, you might be interested, because I'm recording all of these, you might be interested in this one in email marketing. It's a really good strategy for brand awareness, for making, you know, letting people know that you're still here, reminding them what you do. It's a fantastic tool for doing that, but do not sell. I mean, of course you can sell to the right people at the right time, but don't use email marketing or this particular situation to go back to old clients and just hit them with a salesy email right from the start, because it's not, people are busy, people have a very low tolerance threshold for that sort of stuff anyway. And I'll come back to this, but do as you would be done by. If you don't like people doing that to you, the chances are they're not going to love you for doing it to them. And every day, they tend to be printers telling me they can satisfy all my printing needs. And I don't have any printing needs, or if I do, I've got somebody I go to, but those horribly salesy emails, nobody likes them, you don't like them, why would you do it to your lovely clients and prospects? You might have come on here thinking that email marketing doesn't work. Well, it does if you do it right. Spamification does not work. You know, I suppose if you are sending to 30 million people, then you might get some results in that. But servers are very savvy now. So if you're spamming, and I'm going to come on to lists in a minute, if you're spamming people, they know, and they don't let it through, and they flag you as spam, and your stuff never gets seen. So, you know, there's no point in sending out spammy emails, because they are likely not to get through to the people you want them to get through to. And that can even be people you've engaged with in the past, because if you have a very low hit rate in terms of, if you say you have a genuine list of I don't know, 1,000 people, but you've not checked that list for a long time. And there's a lot of people who have moved on, closed their businesses, changed their email addresses. So maybe you get an actual bounce rate in there of 20%, because 20% of them have just, you know, they don't use that email anymore and it bounces. Then you start to get flagged, because these systems are very, very smart. You start to get flagged as being a person that sends out to lists that are not particularly well engaged, and your deliverability score goes down. So the more you do that, the less likely it's going to get through to people, even if they actually do want to hear from you. So yeah, bear that in mind. But the point about email marketing is, if you send the right people the right message at the right time, then it will work to a degree. I mean, not everybody's going to buy from you all the time, but it is very much about finding the right people, finding the right message, and delivering it when they want to. And by the right time here, I'm talking more about where they are on customer journey. Customer journey workshop. It's about, if they're a lead or a prospect or a customer or a lapsed customer, they're at different stages and they need different information at different times on that journey. So that's what I meant about time. I'll talk about things like time of day in terms of getting emails out there a little bit later on. And actually, and I'm still waiting to be completely convinced about this, but the evidence says that actually you're probably not sending enough emails out to people. I know you might well be sort of going, you know, getting that knot in the stomach, thinking, oh, but I don't want them to not be annoyed and unsubscribe. But the point is, if they're your clients and they know you, like you, and trust you already, they won't unsubscribe. I don't unsubscribe from people that I kind of know and I kind of like. Um, I don't, and you might be different, but I'll unsubscribe from people that I've never heard of, that I don't want to have any dealings with. So you're probably not sending, if you say, but I'm doing email marketing, I'm sending the right message to the right people, etc., but it's still not working, then you're probably not sending them often enough, because people are busy and they just have time to read stuff. So that's essentially the message. You probably need to send more of them. And I have things I've signed up for, and I get a daily email, and sometimes I get more than one a day. And I don't read all of them, but every so often I'll go, oh, I haven't read something from so-and-so for a while, I'll have a little read. So yeah, you probably need to be doing it more often. And lists. Please don't buy lists. Just don't. I mean, I'm not even going to try and justify this, because I could and I will. So I'm just trust me. Don't buy lists. Okay. If you really want to argue with me about it, we could do that some other time over a virtual cup of coffee. But do not buy lists. They are not opted in lists, and for the reasons. The other thing is that these systems that are out there monitoring, they can see a list. They recognize lists. So if you're sending using a list, they go, you bought a list. Don't buy lists. Can't I just use Outlook? We're going to start talking about email service providers in a second. And quite often people sort of say, well, yeah, but Outlook will let me send an email to 500 people. And yes, it will. Absolutely, it will. But there's a whole load of reasons why that's not a good idea. It used to be the reason I used to give people, which was a reasonably good deterrent, was that it usually made your Outlook crash. So that in that case, people were quite easily convinced. Now, with Office 365, it doesn't seem to crash as often, but the problem is that, yes, you can and absolutely do send marketing type emails, marketing messages to individuals or very small groups, and you can. But the problem is, if you send out a big blast through Outlook, the ISPs, internet service providers, these people who are monitoring all this stuff going backwards and forwards, they see it as spam. They just do. Now, when I say small groups, quite often a lot of people say, well, how many is small? And I really don't know. But if you're sending out, a message to say 20 people, it's probably fine, but there's no hard and fast rule. There is no rule that will actually sort of say, oh, beyond, the 21st or the 51st or whatever, it's a problem. So I just would caution against it wherever you can. And the other thing about Outlook is you don't get the tracking, and we'll come on to tracking in a second. And tracking is a good thing for you to do. So those are the main reasons for not using Outlook. Plus, there's the kind of the design side of it as well. Although you don't necessarily have to have a sort of fabulous looking email going out through MailChimp. You can do a plain text one if you want. So the design capabilities aren't necessarily going to be important to you. So why use an email service provider? So I've listed some of them there. We've got MailChimp, Campaign Monitor, ActiveCampaign. There are others. Those are the ones that I hear most people most of the time talking about. And I'm a MailChimp user, as you will know, because you get emails from me. It avoids your domain being seen as a spammer, but make sure you are complying with the regulations. So when they say, yes, we'll allow you to upload a list of people from Excel, CSV, have these people, do these people expect to hear from you? Then, for goodness sake, comply with that. Make sure that you're not just adding people into your list that do not want to hear from you. It's just not good practice. It's just not good practice. And I think we all want to be seen to be doing the good things, the right things. So do comply with the regulations, and they will, because they'll see that you're getting a whole load of bounces and unsubscribes, and they will delist you. They'll just turn around and say to you, do you know what? We're not going to let you send through us anymore. So don't do it. You get the tracking, as I said, and we'll come on to tracking. It's not just opens. Open rates are incredibly misleading. People open things all the time, but they don't engage their brain with them. Particularly if they open them, well, not even just if they open them on a phone, but quite often you'll do it yourself. You'll open something in your phone and you'll see it, and you will think to yourself, I'll read that later. And quite often you don't, which is why you need to keep sending. And they won't unsubscribe, but they're just not opening. They're just not reading. They're not engaging it when they with it when they open it. If somebody is using Outlook and they have the reading pane open on the right hand side, or you can have it at the bottom, every time that flashes up on the reading pane, you'll get an open. So you get really, really inflated open rates. The opposite is also true. There are some situations, and I've never really quite tied down what these are. There are some situations where the tracking thingy doesn't get sent. I think it must be some people's server. The tracking thingy doesn't get sent back to you. So you will get some false negatives as well. You get thousands of false positives. And yes, you will get better design features, and you get things like automation. So you can schedule it for a time, you can schedule a series of emails, all those kind of things. You get the sort of the drip marketing side of it as well. So all those good things in terms of just being able to spend some time now setting out what you want to send out next week or next month even, or what you want to do in terms of if people are a new subscriber and they automatically get something as a new subscriber, they sign up for an event and they automatically get an email, then this is exactly why you want to use one of these systems as email service providers. So coming on to strategy, don't forget mobile devices. So designing for mobile devices is absolutely key. And that's potentially another reason for not using Outlook, because you can design your email in your design thingy on whichever platform you've chosen, and then there'll be a little box that says, how does this look on a tablet, on a phone, or on a PC? And you can see exactly how everything's resizing, how the text goes. Think much more about data segmentation and lists and groups. This makes life a lot easier. This is about sending the right message to the right people at the right time. I always counsel against the blanket newsletter that every single contact in your database gets, regardless of whether they're a lead, a prospect, a customer, or a lapsed customers, because there are sometimes where you don't necessarily want to give everybody the same information. This is all about having a strategy which says, I want to send my customers for this product range that, I want to send my customers for this product range something different. I want to send the brand new leads who've just come into my world something very educational. I want to send my prospects something a little bit more salesy to start sort of getting them into my world, that kind of thing. So make sure that whenever you're setting these systems up, you're putting people into different lists and groups and things so that you can personalize it. So that's the power of personalization. The power of personalization is not necessarily the dear Craig or the dear Susan bit in it. It's actually when they come to read it, and if you had been listening yesterday, you know, this is a bit about it's about speaking to them. It's about being that ideal customer so that when they read that email, they think, were you just in the room with me a minute ago when I was having that conversation with a member of staff? Because you seem to know me really, really well. And that's what I mean about the power of personalization. So that when you're sending an email to your ideal customer, they think it's just for them. They absolutely think that you just wrote to them and nobody else. And just think about the analysis and the optimization. Think about, you know, how you're going to actually do this and optimize this and get this email chain set up and all that kind of thing to get the right results through in terms of your strategy. The when to send, this is much more now, not on terms of the customer journey, in terms of the time of day. People aren't generally sitting there waiting to read emails, marketing emails during the day, but they might be at lunchtime and they might be in the evening or on the train home. Yes, you know, you can say, well, if it's in their inbox, they can read it later. The problem is sometimes they might have this problem. I might see something during the day, but it slips so far down that I just don't have time to get down to it during the day. And yes, I should clear out my inbox, but who does? How often and how many? Yeah, we've sort of talked about that. You need to consider how often you need to be sending the information. But again, it's about the right information at the right time. So their strategy is going to be, why are you sending the email? You know, what's the purpose? Is it to lead somebody in a journey? Is it the nurture thing? Is it a direct piece of information about a current customer base that you need to get some information across? Who's it got to go to, and why? Why do they want to receive it? How are you serving your customer by actually doing this? So just think about your strategy in terms of that. Where is your data? Is it in a database or a CRM or within an electronic email service provider? Is it nowhere or everywhere? You know, have we just got data all over the place on our phone? This is the point where you have to think about pulling the information into some kind of system somewhere. So whether that's a database, whether you're setting up a CRM, whether you load it up into MailChimp, whatever you do, sometimes if you've got a system already and you want to set up MailChimp, try and have some way of synchronizing the two, either a direct link or use something like Zapier to link the two systems so that you can always have a nice clean data set. Security and GDPR, do not forget them. Make sure that whatever system you're using, it is secure and you are complying with our friend GDPR, which I think possibly is the next slide. Where is it? What security do you have on it? And what control do you have on it? Who can access it? The whole point of GDPR is not point 4. The point of GDPR was data security and data privacy. So make sure if you have got data, you are keeping it secure and under control, and only the people who need to access it can access it. The second part of it, the unsubscribes and the right to having their data erased completely. So obviously, if somebody is a customer, you have the right to keep information for tax purposes for, you know, several years. But if they want to be erased from your email marketing list, then they have the right to have that done. So make sure that you are able to do that and you're able to find them. And if that's the reason for, if you have data in multiple places, you need to be able to make sure that you are keeping track of that individual's information in all the different places. This is not a seminar on GDPR. It just has to be flagged up here. And it's usually one of the first questions I get asked. Can I email this list of people? Can I email that? If they're current customers or they've opted in, of course you can. Of course you can. And the other thing about the email service providers is they usually have an opt-in thing. So quite often what you can do is just sort of say, here's my list, here's the link, you go and subscribe yourself into it. And then you know 100% that you're absolutely above board and all the rest of it. Data segmentation is another question I get asked. So this is just this ability to be able to silo your customers into different lists and groups. So it might be the customers that bought product X, it might be leads in a particular location, it might be leads that have got more than one size, it might be customers who have children. Those kind of things, whatever those things that are relevant to your business and your messaging. Who's your ideal customer and how, you know, what's the profile of those people? So leads in Glasgow, you might want to tell them about some event that's happening in Glasgow. You know, things like that. So being able to capture more information than their email address. And when we talk about lead magnets on, I think it's Tuesday, we'll talk about how you get that information from them, because it's not always going to be that easy. But the more information you can get them to self-profile, the better. Measure and analyze, this is absolutely the point of it as well. So you can measure and analyze your bounces. So you will get delivery failures back into Outlook, absolutely. But this is also a much more scientific way. So there are soft bounces and hard bounces. A hard bounce says that domain just doesn't exist anymore. That company's gone out of business. Essentially, that's telling you. A soft bounce is something like it's tried to deliver and it's just not getting through for some reason. And there are a whole pile of error codes that you can look up for that. You can measure your opens with the caveats I've already given you, but so that can start to give you, you can also measure unique opens. And that's the other thing with an ESP, is it will tell you the total number of opens, but it will also give you the unique opens, which is more useful than the fact that Jim opened it 347 times. But this is the real thing. And when you come to design your email, having something that somebody can click through to, or either a link where they can download a PDF, which has got some sort of lovely information about your business in it, or you send them through to a landing page on your website. Whatever you can do to actually measure the active engagement of that person has to click or tap to go through somewhere else or to get the download. That's your goal. That's what you really want to do. That potentially, depending on the size of your organization, gives you a call list. That person who downloaded that PDF, they need a call tomorrow. The person who opened it, maybe not so much. Or who opened the email. The person who downloaded the PDF of the brochure or the piece of information that you wanted them to read is the person that you need to follow up on. And you can connect to other apps, so things like shopping, and you can connect MailChimp to Eventbrite, I'm here to tell you. So you can get much more rich information about the people you are having in your world by connecting everything together. So your challenge, I'm ending these with a challenge. Your challenge is to go through your customer and your prospect list, find ways to segment them. So get them into neat lists. So prospects for a particular product range, customers who haven't bought for a while, whatever it is. Set up an account with an ESP if you haven't already done so, and start to think about what lists you want to create within that, or groups, or whatever they call them, segments, whatever it is that you want to, however it is you want to divide up your customers, and then plan a campaign. So that might be to send out some information to current clients, or it might be to re-engage lapsed clients, whatever it is that you want to do. This is your challenge, this is your homework to go away and do. Think about the emails you receive and think about what engages you. So it doesn't have to be a fancy schmancy, super duper pictures and moving images and all the rest of it. It has to be good content. We're going to be talking about content next week as well. So content is king. And super looking stuff that has poor content is no good to anybody. Good content is what you're aiming for. So try and make sure your content is good. Don't have a really long email, because nobody will read it. Trust me. There is a certain demographic apparently that does, I'm told, but they're probably not your customer. Most people are busy and they will not sit and read a long email. What you can do though is have an email with a download in it, and people will download and read that. And as I say, that's the gold, is capturing those people that have read that bit of content. So keep your actual email very short and to the point and snappy, with good content that people want to read, and have it pointing at a download, or a landing page on your website. So that's it for me for today. Thank you very, very much indeed for joining me. As I say, we'll be kicking off on Monday, where we're going to be looking at your sales processes. So if you've signed up for this one, then you should get the invitation to that next one. If you want to learn more, then go to wildcatsolutions.co.uk or join the Business Success Society on Facebook. Just search for Business Success Society and you will find us. So thank you very much indeed, and I hope you all have a fantastic day.